You're listening to From Stillness, an audiobook for a mind in need of quiet. You've felt it, that rising wave of emotion. Anger, shame, panic. It sweeps through your body before you even know what triggered it. And in those moments, it feels like it could last forever. But here's what no one ever told you. No emotion, in its raw physiological form, lasts more than 90 seconds. That's it. 1.5 minutes. After that, the chemical surge in your brain and body, the cortisol, the adrenaline, the tightening in your chest naturally begins to fade. Unless you keep it alive. Unless you feed it with thoughts, stories, replays. How dare they? I always mess this up. This is just like last time. That's what keeps the storm spinning, not the emotion itself, but the narrative you wrap around it. Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, a Harvard-trained neuroscientist, taught us this. And it changes everything. Because if you can stay with the feeling, just observe it, breathe through it, count to 90, something remarkable happens. The wave crests. And then, it passes. You don't need to suppress it. You don't need to explode. You simply stay present. And in that space, those 90 seconds of awareness, you reclaim choice. You remember that emotions are not commands. They are visitors, signals, waves. And if you don't chase them, they won't drag you under. Next time you feel triggered, don't rush to react. Pause. Breathe. Notice the sensation in your body. And wait. You're only 90 seconds away from clarity. Disappointment doesn't begin with what happened. It begins with what you expected. We don't suffer because life is harsh. We suffer because life didn't match the story we silently wrote in our minds. That meeting was supposed to go better. That person was supposed to stay. That version of ourselves, stronger, smarter, more put together, was supposed to have shown up. And when reality doesn't align, the ache isn't just from what we lost, it's from the distance between what is and what we hoped would be. But here's the truth. That distance can be softened. Not by denying the difficulty, but by seeing it through a different frame. Cognitive reframing isn't about toxic positivity. It's not pretending everything is perfect. It's the quiet skill of asking, what else could this mean? What is still possible from here? What might this be asking of me, instead of taking from me? Say you didn't get the promotion. Your brain rushes to fill in the story. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. But pause and reframe. Maybe this is a moment of redirection, not rejection. Maybe it's space being cleared for something that fits better. The frame you place around your experience determines how heavy it feels or how workable it becomes. When we shift perspective, we don't erase the pain, but we reclaim the power to move forward. You're not stuck inside the story your mind first writes. You can choose the lens, and sometimes the right lens doesn't show the full answer, just enough clarity to take the next step with grace. When your mind spirals, it rarely sends a warning. One moment you're fine. The next, you're overwhelmed, anxious, maybe on the verge of tears, and you don't even know why. In those moments, the last thing your nervous system needs is a lecture. What it needs is care. That's where your emotional first aid kit comes in. Just like we prepare for physical injuries with bandages and antiseptic, we can prepare for emotional distress with tools that calm, ground, and restore. But here's the key. You don't build the kit in the middle of a storm. You build it now, while the sky is clear. Start by noticing your patterns. What tends to knock you off center? Is it criticism, loneliness, pressure, uncertainty? For each one, add something to your kit. A physical action like taking a short walk or doing 10 jumping jacks. A grounding object, a stone, a scent, a song. A cognitive anchor, a mantra, a reminder, a note from your past self. And a connection, someone you can text, not to fix it, just to remind you you're not alone. Write it all down. Keep it where you'll find it. Because when your emotions run high, you won't remember what helps. But if it's already there, clear, familiar, yours, you'll reach for it like a lifeline. This isn't indulgence, it's wisdom. Emotional readiness is not weakness, it's resilience by design. Don't wait for the next wave to build the boat. Build it now. You've been there, lying in bed, eyes wide open, replaying the same thought over and over. It could be something you said 3 years ago, a conversation that didn't go how you wanted, a future scenario that may never happen. But still, your mind loops, digging deeper instead of letting go. This is rumination, and it's not reflection, it's mental quicksand. The more you fight it, the deeper it pulls. That's because trying to stop a thought by force only gives it more energy. Like saying, don't think about a pink elephant, guess what you just imagined? So instead of suppression, try redirection, not escape, not denial, a gentle shift of focus. Use the 5-3-1 technique. First, name 5 things you can see right now. Look around. Anchor yourself to the present. Second, move your body, even a few steps. Stand up, change rooms, stretch. It tells your brain something new is happening. Third, engage in 3 minutes of focused activity. Count backwards from 100 by sevens. Write down 5 things you're grateful for. Solve a small puzzle. And finally, take one small action, something meaningful or simply neutral, that helps you reset. Drink water. Brush your teeth. Step outside. You're not pushing thoughts away. You're gently giving your mind a better place to land. Because rumination isn't about the past, it's about an unsettled present. Give your mind something to hold that's solid, simple, here. And in that shift, the spiral loses its grip. You walk into a room and feel eyes on you, a stain on your shirt, a word said slightly wrong, a misstep you can't stop thinking about. Surely everyone noticed. But here's the truth, they probably didn't. What you're feeling is the spotlight effect, the tendency to vastly overestimate how much others notice or care about your appearance, your behavior, or your mistakes. And it's not your fault. Your brain is wired to put you at the center of your world, and it assumes everyone else is doing the same, but they're not. Because everyone else is busy worrying about themselves, about their own shirt, their own awkward phrasing, their own internal spiral. Think of a moment someone else made a small mistake. Can you recall it in detail? Likely not. Because you were too focused on how you were coming across. There's freedom in this. Realizing that the world isn't watching you as closely as you feared means you can move with more ease, more softness, more authenticity. You don't need to perform every second. You don't need to edit yourself in real time. You don't need to live like you're under a microscope. The pressure you feel isn't coming from others. It's coming from the story in your own mind. And once you see that, you can begin to breathe again. Step out of the imagined spotlight and just be. Sometimes the voice inside your head is the harshest one you know. It says, I'm failing. I can't handle this. I always mess things up. And in that moment, it doesn't feel like a thought, it feels like the truth. But what if there were a simple way to loosen that grip? Researchers have discovered something surprisingly powerful: third-person self-talk. Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, you say, Anna is going through something hard. That shift from I to your own name creates just enough distance to let wisdom in. Because when you speak to yourself this way, you activate a different part of the brain, the part you'd use to support a friend. Suddenly, you're not drowning in the emotion. You're standing beside it, able to respond instead of react. Think of how easily you encourage others. You've got this. You've handled worse. Now imagine offering that same kindness to yourself, not later, but in the moment when you need it most. It's not a trick. It's a form of emotional anchoring. And the best part? It's always available. So next time your inner critic gets loud, try this, pause, and speak to yourself by name. Gently. Like you would to someone you care about, because that person, you, is worthy of compassion too. Sometimes the most powerful support doesn't come from outside. It comes from the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. Hope, on its own, isn't always enough. We've all been there, excited to start something new, motivated by a fresh vision of change, a new habit, a big goal, a better version of ourselves. But then life happens. The alarm feels too early. The enthusiasm fades. And we wonder what went wrong. Here's the truth. Positive thinking can feel good, but without preparation, it can quietly work against you. Psychologists call the remedy mental contrasting, the practice of pairing optimistic visualization with honest anticipation of obstacles. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Start by imagining clearly what you want: the energy after a consistent workout routine, the confidence of finishing that creative project, the peace of better boundaries. Let that vision fill you, but don't stop there. Now, identify what's most likely to get in the way: fatigue, doubt, distraction, a busy schedule. Then make a plan. If I feel too tired after work, I'll do just 10 minutes. If I start scrolling, I'll put my phone in another room. These small if-then statements are the difference between an idea and a system, because obstacles don't ruin goals. Unpreparedness does. Mental contrasting doesn't kill hope. It protects it by grounding it in reality and building scaffolding around it. You don't need to stop dreaming. You just need to bring your dreams to ground level, where they can walk with you, not float above you. This isn't pessimism. It's practical optimism. The kind that holds both possibility and reality and walks forward with both in hand. Some things don't just survive pressure, they grow stronger because of it. This is the principle of anti-fragility, the idea that certain systems, including our minds, don't break under stress. They evolve. They adapt. They expand. Your muscles do this when you lift weights. Your immune system does it after exposure to germs. And your inner world can do it too, if you let it. But here's the catch. Growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from deliberate challenge, from introducing small doses of difficulty in a way that trains your nervous system to hold more uncertainty, more discomfort, more truth, cold showers, honest conversations, saying no when it's easier to please, turning off the noise, showing up to write, speak, create, even when you're afraid. Each small act of voluntary pressure is like forging steel. You're not proving toughness, you're cultivating resilience. Because fragility doesn't come from pain, it comes from avoidance. The more you avoid what's hard, the more power it gains over you. Anti-fragility says, don't just bounce back, bounce forward. Not with recklessness, but with intention. You don't need to throw yourself into chaos. Just introduce challenge in doses your soul can metabolize. And as you do, something shifts. Your tolerance grows. Your flexibility expands. Your identity deepens. You begin to realize, I can hold this. I don't need to run. And from that stillness, the unshaken center built through challenge, real confidence is born. There's a certain kind of hope that doesn't crack under pressure. It doesn't live in denial. It doesn't require a deadline for deliverance. It stands, quiet, steady, even when everything else feels uncertain. That's the heart of the Stockdale paradox, a concept named after Admiral Jim Stockdale, who survived over 7 years as a prisoner of war. When asked how he made it through, he said something most people don't expect. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality. This isn't false optimism. It's courageous clarity. Because the people who gave up, Stockdale said, weren't the pessimists, they were the optimists with rigid timelines. We'll be out by Christmas. And when Christmas came and went, their hope collapsed. Real resilience lives in the paradox. It says, this is hard. I don't know when it will end, but I will not lose faith in the part of me that can endure it. And that balance between honesty and hope becomes an inner shelter when life offers no guarantees. Apply it to your own life, the heartbreak that lingers, the goal that feels far away, the change that's slow to arrive. Name the truth of what is, but anchor yourself to what remains possible, because blind positivity is brittle. But grounded belief, the kind that stands through disappointment, through delay, through not yet, is a force the world can't take from you. Hold that paradox. It's the kind of hope that grows deeper with time and carries you through. You can't control when life will get hard, but you can control what you're rooted in when it does. That's the power of building a personal resilience system, a framework you return to when emotions run high, when motivation fades, or when clarity disappears. It's not a fix, it's a foundation. Most people wait until crisis hits to look for tools. But the best systems are built when the waters are still. Think of your resilient system as 4 pillars: body, mind, action, and connection. For your body, practice calming the nervous system. Breathwork. Movement. Rest that's truly restful. A body that feels safe becomes the first anchor in any storm. For your mind, lean on the tools you've gathered, the 90-second rule, reframing, self-talk. Don't wait to remember them. Practice them until they become second nature. For action, build routines that ground you. A morning check-in. A walk after difficult news. A go-to list of small, stabilizing steps you can take when your world spins. For connection, know who your people are. Not to fix you, just to remind you that you're not doing this alone. Put these together, and what you have isn't just a coping strategy, it's a system. Quiet, invisible, always humming in the background. The storms won't stop, but your response won't feel random anymore. Because when you've trained yourself to return to stillness, again and again, the chaos outside loses its power. Resilience isn't what you feel, it's what you've practiced. You've just gathered a set of tools. But more than that, you've gathered clarity. Because emotional strength isn't built in the moment of crisis. It's built in the quiet decision to live awake, to know yourself, to stay present when it would be easier to distract, to choose awareness over autopilot. That's the heart of true resilience. We began with something simple, the 90-second truth, that emotions, when left alone, rise and pass like weather. And from there, we learned how to reframe pain, prepare for storms, and interrupt the loops that trap us. We stopped believing the world is watching. We softened the inner voice. We planned for failure with wisdom instead of fear. And maybe most importantly, we learned this. Strength isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling deeply, without drowning. It's not about control. It's about clarity. You won't always get it right. You'll still snap sometimes, still spiral, still fall into thought traps. But now you'll notice it sooner. Recover faster. And slowly, steadily, you'll rebuild your life from the inside out. Resilience isn't a personality trait. It's a skill, a system, a practice. And it begins with just one step, choosing again and again to come back to yourself. Not to the version of you that performs, pleases, or proves, but the version that knows, I can feel this. I can hold this. I can grow from this. You don't need to be unbreakable, just rebuildable. So take a breath. You're not starting over, you're starting wiser. And that, friend, that changes everything.